Paldea Evolved is the brand new Pokemon TCG set releasing June 6th. In today's video, I'll review every notable card from this massive 200 plus card set in the scope of competitive play in the standard format. I'll rate each card on a scale of 1 to 5 stars, 1 star being very low potential, and 5 stars reserved for the best cards of the set. Today's video is sponsored by PokeCollect.com, the Pokemon TCG Superstore. Great prices, one-of-a-kind products, and even auctions for rare collector's items are all available at PokeCollect. Paldea Evolved booster boxes are ready for pre-order to be shipped on or before the release date, so you can start cracking packs of the newest set right away. Shop for singles, sealed products, and competitive-ready League battle decks all in the same place. Plus, they even have Japanese booster boxes available for recent sets. PokeCollect offers exclusive mystery packs with 5-star ratings and customer satisfaction guaranteed. Use my coupon code CELIO5 at checkout to save 5% and browse the site. I'm positive you'll find something you like. With Pokemon TCG sets commonly including 200 plus cards now, it's a safe assumption that many cards won't hold competitive value. Any cards omitted in today's set review are assumed to be in the bulk bin, but I am going to pick out one card that may have been overlooked: Tropius. A grass-type attacker like Tropius could be used to KO Tyranitar V, and then move its energy to Giratina V or V-Star with the effect of its attack. It could even be used in other matchups as a way to get some damage in while keeping the energy safe on the bench. I think this card could have some potential in the Lost Zone Giratina V-Star deck, and it deserves 1 out of 5 stars. There are 4 new Special Energy cards in Paldea Evolved, and let's hope they make up for Scarlet and Violet base set, which brought 0 new Special Energies. First is Jet Energy, which provides a colorless energy and reads: when you attach this card from your hand to one of your benched Pokemon, switch that Pokemon with your active Pokemon. This has already been included in many successful decks, including Lost Zone Box, Lost Zone Giratina V-Star, and Lugia V-Star. This is a useful card, and it's already proven itself in successful meta decks, so I'm giving it 4 out of 5 stars. Next is Luminous Energy, which functionally works the same way as Multi-Energy. It provides a Rainbow Energy, but only if it's the only Special Energy attached to that Pokemon. This card is very good, but has obvious limitations, which is why I'm giving it 4 out of 5 stars. Therapy Energy provides a colorless energy and prevents the Pokemon it's attached to from being asleep, paralyzed, or confused. There are a lot of cases where this will just be a colorless energy with no added benefit, but in a deck vulnerable to special conditions, it will fulfill its role and deserves 2 out of 5 stars. Last and certainly not least is Reversal Energy, which is a spiritual reprint of Scramble Energy from the original EX series. Reversal Energy provides 3 Rainbow Energy, but only if you are behind on prize cards and only if it's attached to a non-rule box evolution Pokemon. We have historical proof that this is a strong card, and we also have modern day evidence of its viability, already being included in multiple top 16 deck lists at Champions League Niigata in May 2023. This is a 5-star card, and it brings us to our next section. I found 5 Pokemon in this set which typically wouldn't be very good due to their energy costs, but that's no problem thanks to Reversal Energy. Non-rule box Pokemon, especially Stage 1s and Stage 2s, are often too much of a liability to spend energy cards on since they take too long to evolve, are easily knocked out, or both. But thanks to Reversal Energy, I think Gyarados, Raichu, Satitan, and Ceruledge are saved from life in the bulk bin and will all receive a respectable 2 out of 5 stars. The 5th Pokemon I mentioned is Luxray, which would have already been decent due to its ability that allows you to play it directly to the bench, but it's even better thanks to Reversal Energy. Luxray is already being played in Lost Zone, Gardevoir, and Lugia decks in Japan, and I'm giving it 4 out of 5 stars. Before getting into the good stuff, I think it's important to understand the context of the energy cards and trainer cards as well available in the set. Artisan is a stadium card, which allows the player to search for a non-rule box basic Pokemon and bench it, essentially being a free nest ball for non-rule box Pokemon each turn. This is a fantastic card for making your deck more reliable, especially if you're playing a lot of evolution Pokemon like a Gardevoir deck or a Zoroark deck. Brooklet Hill is a comparable modern stadium, and that card was heavily played. Artisan is a 5-star card. Next we have Calamity Mountain, which reads, whenever any player attaches an energy card from their hand to one of their basic non-water Pokemon, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. This is really similar to Old Cemetery, except for its additional condition of only affecting basic Pokemon. This is a 2-star card for me because it can be removed from play before it ever affects the opponent, and it only affects basic Pokemon. Calamity Wilderness is also a downgraded version of a stadium card from recent memory. This stadium card reads, the retreat cost of each non-fighting basic Pokemon is 1 more. When we had Galar Mine in standard format just a few months ago, this card looks pretty poor in comparison. So this one also gets 2 stars. Charm of Courage is very similar to Cape of Toughness. The basic Pokemon this card is attached to gets plus 50 HP. This should be good for control style decks that need their Pokemon to have more longevity, and also for decks which focus on basic Pokemon as their attackers, like Miraidon EX and maybe even some Lost Zone decks. 50 HP is a lot, but it's only on basic Pokemon, so I will give Charm of Courage 3 out of 5 stars. Clavel is a new supporter card which searches for up to 3 basic Pokemon with 120 HP or less, and puts them into your hand. This card will typically be very useful in the first turn or two, and become gradually irrelevant as the game goes on. I'd almost always play a supporter that can draw cards like Professor's Research, since it will be useful for the entire game, not just the first turn or two. I'll give Clavel 2 stars because it's not useless, it's just a bit slow in today's game. Next we have a handful of 1-star trainers: Delivery Drone, Dendra, Faulkner, Fighting Milk, and Grusha. Delivery Drone relies on a 25% chance coin flip, Dendra's card draw is poor compared to other options in standard format, and Faulkner specifically requires you to have a stadium in play, which can be a problem if your opponent plays down the stadium you were going to put into play. Fighting Milk is interesting enough to not be complete bulk, and I respect its potential for control or stall strategies, but I think it will usually be suboptimal compared to a supporter card that could heal more damage, like Cheryl or Cook. Grusha could be considered for control or stall strategies as well, in which the player will commonly not have energy cards on their Pokemon, but even then this is very niche and is outclassed by most other draw supporters. Giacomo is an interesting energy removal card and could be devastating against a deck like Fusion Strike Mew, which attaches multiple Fusion Strike energies around its board. This card is dependent on the way decks are being built and played in any given meta, and due to it specifically discarding special energy, I'm capping my expectations for it at 2.5 out of 5 stars. Next is Iono, and spoiler alert, this might be the best card in the entire set. Iono reads, each player shuffles their hand and puts it on the bottom of their deck. Then each player draws a card for each of their remaining prize cards. The first sentence is synonymous with Marnie's, while the second line derives from N, and before that from Rocket's admin. This card is more fair than Marnie in the early game, and stronger than in the late game. It's almost always better than Roxanne as well, since it will have functionality at all parts of the game. Iono will likely be a top supporter card for its entire standard format lifespan, and it is without a doubt a 5 out of 5 star card. Lesson Studio is the 4th and final new stadium card in Paldea Evolved, and it has a pretty simple effect. The attacks of Stage 1 Pokemon do 10 more damage. This is a mediocre damage buff, but depending on the cards in your deck and popular archetypes in the metagame, you never know when 10 damage is going to make all the difference. Lesson Studio gets a very soft 2 out of 5 stars. Saguaro is the final brand new trainer card we'll look at today. Saguaro heals 50 damage from 2 of your Pokemon, which in total heals 100 damage, and I think this could be really good in some cases. We all know Sableye's Lost Mine and Radiant Greninja's Moonlight Shuriken have been devastating attacks in Standard since their release, and Saguaro could really mess with your opponent's plans involving these cards. I specifically think it could show up in Gardevoir EX decks to serve the purpose of healing damage your opponent dealt, as well as damage counters from your own Psychic Embrace ability. This is a 2 out of 5 card, and I'm excited to see which deck it pops up in first. Lastly, we have 2 reprinted trainer cards, Super Rod and Superior Energy Retrieval. Super Rod is a very good card, and most decks can benefit from it. In terms of basic energy and Pokemon recursion, it doesn't get better than Super Rod, so I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. As for Superior Energy Retrieval, this is its first reprint since 2013. It was really good back then, but it also had Propagate Execute to make its discarding cost easier to fulfill. I think this is a solid 3 out of 5. Finally, we've gotten to the good stuff. In this section, I'll review every EX Pokemon from the set, as well as any non-bulk, non-EX Pokemon that have not been covered yet. Starting with Fortress EX. Fortress has the Exploding Energy ability, which reads, once during your turn, you may search your deck for up to 5 basic grass energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. Then shuffle your deck. If you searched your deck in this way, this Pokemon is knocked out. This ability is interesting for 2 reasons. 1, 5 grass energy attached however you like from your deck is a huge burst of energy. And 2, Fortress knocking itself out can play into your strategy if you include cards like Roxanne, Iono, and Reversal Energy in your deck. Its Guard Press attack does 120 and reduces damage dealt to it next turn by 30. If Fortress can deal 120 damage, survive an attack, and then knock itself out, I think that could be really valuable. A final note on Fortress is that it's a terastallized Pokemon, which means it cannot be damaged on the bench. So I'm conservatively rating Fortress EX 2 out of 5 stars, although I do think it's really cool. Next is Meowscarada EX. Meowscarada has 310 HP, 1 ability, and 1 attack. Its Bouquet Magic ability allows you to discard a grass energy from your hand to put 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Reminiscent of cards like Decidueye GX with Feather Arrow and Greninja with Water Shuriken, players will try to build an ideal board of 3 or even 4 Meowscaradas EX to use as many Bouquet Magics a turn as possible. Meowscarada's Scratching Nails attack does 100 damage plus 120 more damage if the defending Pokemon has any damage on it already, which will be easy to do with the Radiant Alakazam to move some of the Bouquet Magic damage to the active Pokemon. This card could have a very bright future ahead, but in the scope of our current standard format's power level, Meowscarada EX lands at 3 out of 5 stars. Last for grass Pokemon is Wo-Chien EX. Wo-Chien has 230 HP, which is pretty high for a basic Pokemon, and that gets even better with Charm of Courage, bringing it up to 280. Devouring Ivy deals 60 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon for each prize card your opponent has taken, and Forest Burn deals a solid 220 damage for 4 energy. Because of its high HP and high-ish energy costs, this could probably work with Fortress EX. Wo-Chien gets 2 out of 5 stars. Next, we have a non-EX Pokemon, Oricorio. Oricorio is being mentioned for its ability Passionate Dance, which allows you to heal 20 damage from your active evolution Pokemon each turn. This ability is underwhelming, but I could definitely see this serving a functional purpose given the right deck and the right amount of healing that your evolution Pokemon might need to survive another attack. 1 out of 5 stars, but hey, at least it's not completely useless. Speaking of an evolution Pokemon for Oricorio to heal, Skeledirge EX may just fit that description. Skeledirge EX has a monstrous 340 HP, and remember, these EXs only give up 2 prize cards, no matter how big they are. Its first attack, Vitality Song, does 50 damage and heals 30 damage from each of your Pokemon, so Lost Zone decks are going to hate that. Its second attack, Burning Voice, does 270 damage, minus 10 damage for each damage counter on Skeledirge EX. If you want to deal max damage, you'll need healing capabilities in your deck, but with how much HP Skeledirge has, I think that's a fair trade-off. This is a card I'm excited for because I love tanky Pokemon that encourage a healing strategy, but I'm only giving it 2 out of 5 stars because it needs to work a little harder than our strongest cards in Standard right now. Chi-Yu EX strikes me as a Pokemon that is not built for our current Standard format. With its low HP of 190, I really don't want to attack with it in a format with powerful V Pokemon still around. Flame Surge is a really cool attack, but I can't give Chi-Yu any higher than 1 out of 5 stars. The third starter evolution EX, Quaquaval EX. Quaquaval EX has 320 HP and has 2 attacks. Lively Samba costs 1 water energy and does 60 damage, then you and your opponent both switch your active Pokemon with a benched Pokemon. There are some great Pokemon you can switch into after the attack, like Mimikyu from this set, and also Klefki from Scarlet and Violet base set. So with those Pokemon mentioned for context, I think this attack could be pretty good. Propeller Shot deals 230 damage, and you return 2 energy attached to Quaquaval to your hand. I think 230 is a really good amount of damage for only 2 energy, and I don't mind returning the energy either, since Quaquaval's 1 energy attack will be optimal to use frequently. I think there's potential for this card, but I don't see it making waves at the top of the metagame anytime soon, so it's 2 out of 5 stars for Quaquaval EX. Next is Baxcalibur with the Super Cold ability. A simple yet strong ability, Super Cold allows you to attach basic water energies to your Pokemon as often as you like. It's on a stage 2 Pokemon, but we know this ability can and will be good, so Baxcalibur is an easy 5 out of 5 star card. And where are we attaching all that energy from Super Cold? Probably Chien-Pao EX. Chien-Pao EX has the Hail Blade attack, which does 60 damage for each basic water energy you discard from your Pokemon. With an unlimited supply of water energy from Baxcalibur, Chien-Pao will be able to one-hit KO anything in its path. It is also equipped with Shivery Chill, which allows you to search your deck for up to 2 basic water energies. Chien-Pao EX has an ability that directly supports its attack, and the attack can knock anything out with enough energy, so Chien-Pao EX is another 5 out of 5 star card. Pikachu EX is probably the worst EX card in Paldea Evolved. Its Dynamic Bolt attack does 220 damage, but so does Miraidon EX's Photon Blaster, and that Pokemon has higher HP, plus an incredible ability. Pikachu EX is pretty much bulk, but we'll give it 1 out of 5 since it can at least deal some considerable damage. Next we have Bellibolt EX, a stage 1 EX Pokemon with 280 HP and 2 attacks. Jumping Press does 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, and Paralyzing Ball does 160 damage, plus it allows you to discard 2 Lightning Energy from Bellibolt to paralyze the defending Pokemon. I think Bellibolt EX is almost playable, but is really lacking a third attribute, like an attack that accelerates energy to itself or an ability that can make it a bit tankier. 1 out of 5 stars for poor old Bellibolt EX. I know I titled this section The Good Stuff, but I'll let you decide if these next 3 Pokemon are any good at all. Wattrel, Murkrow, and Flamigo. What's special about these 3 Pokemon is that they all have the United Wings attack, which does 20 damage for each Pokemon in your discard pile that has the United Wings attack. While one of these Pokemon are attacking, the United Wings attack can max out at 220 damage with 11 United Wings Pokemon in the discard pile, 240 if you're using Ditto to copy the attack. I personally think this deck archetype is a meme, and I'm giving each of these cards 1 star and effectively treating them as pseudo bulk, but let me know if I'm wrong about this. Slowking EX is another terastallized Pokemon from Paldea Evolved, and it is following the terastallization trend of being pretty mediocre. Its Profound Knowledge attack does 30 damage and confuses the defending Pokemon, which we've seen in the past on Espeon GX, which was an incredible card. The problem for Slowking EX is that its only other attack, Wisdom Headbutt, probably won't be very good. It does 130 damage and searches your deck for any 2 cards, but with Iono, Judge, and Roxanne in the format, you won't be holding on to those cards for very long. Additionally, 130 damage is pretty low for an EX Pokemon's strongest attack. With all that in mind, I'm rating Slowking EX 1 out of 5 stars. Spiritomb is a really interesting card, because its ability stops all basic Pokemon V from using their abilities. Pokemon V were the special mechanic of the Sword and Shield block, but it's cool to see newer cards still acknowledge them and actively counter them. This card is going to be played as a Mew VMAX counter since that deck relies on Genesect V's Fusion Strike system ability, but it can shut down other useful V Pokemon as well, like Lumineon V and Rotom V. I'm giving this card a 3 out of 5 since it can counter a meta deck and a couple of other Pokemon, but it won't be good for too long because it's countering an old mechanic. As previously noted, the card designers are terastallizing a bunch of middling Pokemon EX, like our next card, Dedenne EX. Dedenne EX has potential specifically because of how powerful Gardevoir EX is. Dedenne's Tail Swap attack moves all damage counters from one of your benched Pokemon to your opponent's active Pokemon. So if something like a Mewtwo V Union has 200 damage on it, you could retreat it, Psychic Embrace 5 more times to Mewtwo V Union to put it up to 300 damage, then use Dedenne EX's Tail Swap to move all the damage from Mewtwo V Union to your opponent's active Pokemon. The issue is, you'll be leaving a 170 HP Pokemon EX in the active position. Its second attack, Wonder Shot, does 170 for 3 Psychic Energy, and you have to discard an energy. Wonder Shot is pretty underwhelming, and I suppose that's because Tail Swap is supposed to be Dedene's selling point. I'm not sold just yet, and I'm giving Dedenne 1 out of 5 stars. Mimikyu is the first Safeguard Pokemon of the Scarlet and Violet series, preventing all damage done to it by attacks from your opponent's EX and V Pokemon. The ability is an objective upgrade from Miltank's Miracle Body, although Mimikyu has lower HP compared to Miltank. Mimikyu's only attack, Ghost Eye, costs 1 Psychic and 1 Colorless, and puts 7 damage on your opponent's active Pokemon. The attack is decent enough, but it's Mimikyu's low HP that concerns me about this card's viability. I think the ability warrants that the card receives at least 3 out of 5 stars, but as noted, its low HP could restrict its success at some point. Next is Tinkaton, a Stage 2 Psychic Pokemon with 140 HP, 1 ability, and 1 attack. Its Gather Materials ability allows you to discard a card to draw 3 cards once a turn, which we've seen in the past as a worthwhile ability on a Stage 2 Pokemon before. Its Special Hammer attack does 180 for 2 energy, so long as Tinkaton has a special energy attached, and I think this is a decent chunk of damage for just 2 energy on a single prize Pokemon with a strong ability. There's also a Tinkaton EX in Paldea Evolved. Tinkaton EX has 300 HP and 2 attacks. Big Hammer is the main attack, dealing 30 damage for each card in your hand. I love the synergy this has with the non-EX Tinkaton's ability, but they really dropped the ball by not giving either Tinkatuff an ability that could support this as well. The second attack, Pulverizing Press, deals 140 damage and is not affected by any effects on the defending Pokemon. I'm giving Tinkaton and Tinkaton EX both a 2-star rating. Lycanroc EX is a pretty mediocre card, with decent HP but 2 less than desirable attacks. Rock Throw does 40 damage for 1 energy, and Scary Fangs does 140 damage for 3 energy, with the effect, during your opponent's next turn, if this Pokemon is damaged by an attack, even if it's knocked out, put 10 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. This means Scary Fangs could do a max of 240 damage after taking into account its extra effect, but I'd prefer an attack that guarantees the extra damage rather than leaving it up to the opponent to attack into Lycanroc. This is a 1 out of 5 star card. Next is Garganacl, a Stage 2 Fighting-type Pokemon. This Pokemon has the ability Blessed Salt, which heals 20 damage from your Pokemon between each turn. This is worth noting because the ability is twice as good as something like Radiant Serena's Elegant Heal, as it will heal 20 damage between each player's turn, not just during your own turn. The downside is that Garganacl is a Stage 2 Pokemon, so this will likely only be considered in decks which already play Rare Candy. 1.5 out of 5 stars, but it's something to keep an eye on. Next is Ting-Lu EX with a massive 240 HP. Its ability Cursed Land reads, as long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent's Pokemon that have any damage counters on them have no abilities, except for Pokemon EX. This will shut down abilities like Radiant Greninja's Concealed Cards, Baxcalibur's Super Cold, and Comfy's Flower Selecting, so long as those Pokemon have damage on them. Its attack Land Scoop synergizes with its ability, dealing 150 damage and putting 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. I wish this card was just a little bit better, but I think it's good enough for 3 out of 5 stars. We only have 1 Dark Pokemon to review in this section, Paldean Clodsire EX. Paldean Clodsire EX has 280 HP and can deal 200 damage with its Needlebone attack. The potential downside of Needlebone isn't the biggest deal, but it is something to be aware of. The ability Toxic Wetland can be strong if you play additional synergy with special conditions in your deck, like Radiant Hisuian Sneasler. This card has some obvious ways to build a deck for it, but I don't think it stands well next to the dozens of viable decks we already have available in Standard, plus new decks coming out of this set. So it's a 1 out of 5 for Paldea and Clodsire. Next is Copperajah EX, which has a whopping 300 HP. Its ability Bronze Body makes that HP even more impressive, since it reduces 30 damage done to Copperajah EX from attacks. Although this Pokemon has an attack that deals a considerable amount of damage with a small downside, I believe this card might best be used as a wall Pokemon in a stalled deck, since it has high HP, an ability that encourages survivability, and it's an evolution Pokemon so it can benefit from Cheryl. With its attacking capabilities as a bonus, I'm giving Copperajah EX 2.5 stars out of 5. Orthworm could be interesting in a deck that plays Bronzong from Battle Styles to move energies around, since Orthworm's ability gives it plus 100 HP if it has 3 or more metal energy attached to it. A 230 HP single prize basic Pokemon is no joke, but the concept of a Bronzong deck without Zacian V and Metal Saucer in the format might be. I thought Earthworm was interesting enough to mention, but I'll still just give it 1 out of 5 stars. Introducing dragon types to Scarlet and Violet, we have Noivern EX. Its first attack, Covert Flight, deals 70 damage and prevents all damage done to Noivern EX next turn by your opponent's basic Pokemon. Dominating Echo deals 140 damage and prevents your opponent from playing special energies or stadiums from their hand next turn. Both of these attacks can be applicable against competitive strategies, so I think Noivern EX deserves at least 3 out of 5 stars. Pelipper might be a little slow and clunky in our current format, but its ability allows you to search your deck or discard for a supporter card when you evolve it. Finding a supporter card is incredibly strong, especially when it can be from your deck or discard pile, so I'd be surprised if this card never sees its time of playability, and thus I'm giving it 2 out of 5 stars. And finally, the last card today is Squawkabilly EX. It has the ability Squawk and Seize, which reads, once during your turn you may discard your hand and draw 6 cards. You can't use more than 1 Squawk and Seize each turn. This ability is limited to 1 per turn and can only be used on your first turn, but the nice thing about it is that it can be activated whenever, not only when the Pokemon is played down from your hand. This means that Nest Ball can be used to get Squawkabilly and then you use the ability, unlike Lumineon V, which needs to be played from your hand to activate its ability. Starting Squawkabilly EX also won't be the worst thing in the world, since you can still use its ability on your first turn. It also has a pretty good attack. 20 damage, and attach 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. Its HP and the closets on its ability keep it somewhat balanced, but it's still very good, awarding Squawkabilly EX 4 out of 5 stars as the final card in this review. Thanks again to PokeCollect.com for sponsoring today's video. Check out their awesome selection of Pokemon TCG products and use code CELIO5 for 5% off. Don't forget to subscribe for more Pokemon TCG content and support my channel using PotownStore.com for all of your PTCG live code card needs. Dragon Shield sleeves, the best sleeves in the game. PokemonCard.io for creating deck lists and sharing them with the community. And Into the AM, outfitting your passion. Find coupon codes and links in the description down below. A quick review of the highlights today. The 5-star cards in today's Paldea Evolved set review were Reversal Energy, Artisan, Iono, Baxcalibur, and Chien-Pal EX. And the 4-star cards in today's review were Jet Energy, Luminous Energy, Luxray, and Squawkabilly EX. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching here on Celio's Network.